quick, just watery backgrounds for your flowers. So I'm just gonna use water and two simple colors. So this is Folk Art Buttercup and Folk Art Hauser Green Light. So we're gonna use those and a little bit of water on our canvas just to make a really simple watery background. Don't worry about this too much because our flower is gonna take up 90% of this canvas. This is just a little something to show you also what to do. So all I'm gonna do first is just wet my brush, and oh, that's got brown on it. Let me see, this might be better. I'm gonna wet my brush. Whew, hang on, I think I am. And just wet my canvas all over what is happening? There's ick on my brush. So I'm gonna wet my canvas. Then I have my two colors, the yellow Buttercup and the Light Hauser Green on my palette. So I'm just gonna dip the corner of my brush just a smidge into the yellow, and then I'm just gonna smear it around, okay? Don't forget your top and sides. So just really messy, no, nothing fancy, just a little bit of color and water just to give your canvas a little something besides the white background. Okay, so we'll do the yellow, and then I'm gonna dip right into that green, same, just a tiny bit on the corner, and do the same thing. Yay, Ruth! You guys should be getting some fun packages in the mail very soon. And Ruth, on the back of your box, check out the envelope. There's an envelope on the back of your box, so don't miss that, okay? There's a big old envelope on the back that has something good in it for you. So don't throw that box away until you look on the bottom. So just a little bit of color on your canvas. And now you can just manipulate that a little bit if you want to. So sometimes I like to just kind of fan it up to make what kind of looks like fronds or grass or whatever. But I'm just gonna leave it kind of plain. Got a little bit too much water. Let me get a little green. So just a really simple wash of color, or whatever your heart desires. So there's one, really simple, just a little yellow and a little green, and we're gonna set that aside. These are 6x6 canvas, and they're the thick ones from Hobby Lobby, from Michael's, that you can get in like a 4-pack. So they're back stapled, they're not splined. Okay, so here's my next one, because we're gonna do two flowers, and I'm just gonna do the same thing. Just gonna rub in some water, just to prime that canvas so the paint will flow nicely. And we'll get some on the sides. Hey, Donnie Hale. A little bit of yellow. We'll make this one a little more colorful. We'll add some yellow to the top and sides. You see I'm just kind of scrubbing it in too. I'm not really doing anything deliberate. It's just kind of getting some color on. Just get your color. All right, we'll go into our green and do the same thing. Actually, I'm gonna do this, and then I will do, let me get my sides real quick. Need a little water on my brush. Blend them together. Let's do the bottom. Now, see, I have a good bit of green here, so what I like to do is just kind of wipe off my brush. Then I'm gonna come up and I'm just gonna go like this, and it kind of pulls. I'll show you up close in just a second. This is really good if you're doing like a cone flower or a tulip or something coming up out of the grass. We're gonna kind of cover this up with our hydrangea, but I wanna show you guys how, if it's watery enough. see how you can turn it into like little grass. Can you see that? Yay. Yes, they're coming. They went to the post office today, Janice. Yes, spray, yes. So that's just a simple little technique that you can use to just really quickly do your background color. So we're going to set these aside. I already have some painted, so we're not going to have to worry about these drying. So I'm just going to set that aside, and I will do more flowers on those later. Maybe we'll come back tomorrow and do a different flower. So we'll save those for later. So I have two that are already dry. Thank you, Leah. So we are going to do hydrangeas, okay? So I have this plate. I'm trying to conserve my plates and my palettes as well. So forgive me for using a dirty plate. I try not to do that when I'm doing lives. Try to save the dirty ones for when I'm just painting at home. But I'm trying to really conserve my paper goods. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to put a couple of colors on my plate, and then I'll tell you what I'm using as I go. And I need to flip this so you guys can see. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can. Okay, can you see that now? Yes! Okay, so here is my canvas, and here is what we're using. It is Master's Touch Titanium White. I'm going to put a little bit of that on there because we're going to blend some of that in. Hey, Kathy from Louisiana. We're going to use a little bit of that white just to highlight. And I'm also going to add a little bit of the Master's Touch Antique Gold, which is a metallic, just because I like the way it looks. I'm almost always add just a touch of metallic gold to my flowers, just because it makes them sparkly. So the first flower we're going to do is going to be pink. Okay, so I'm going to use the Master's Touch Purple Red, which is really pink to me. A little bit of that. And we're going to use Master's Touch Pink, which to me is coral. I'm having a deja vu from a live I probably did about a year ago. So those are the colors for our first flower. And then we'll come back when we're done. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put this on my plate. This is Chrome Oxide Green. I'll put this one over here. And we're going to use a little teeny bit of raw umber. Donna Payne, I love you, girl. I miss you. I miss my wine, buddy. Are you locked down, sister? Right, Ruth? I understand you can't run out and buy all this paint, but you know what? It doesn't mean that someday when the stores are back open, you can't. So anyway, and these are really cheap too. This is $3.99 for this tube of Master's Touch, and I only buy them when they're on sale half price. So this would be $2 for this whole tube. So when the store's open, you know, just because the stores aren't open don't mean we can't paint. Okay, so I'm just going to get started. The first thing I like to do is kind of lay out where I'm going to put my hydrangea. Okay, so I'm going to use my pink color to do that. So I'm just going to dip in and just kind of figure out how it's going to start. And where it's going to be with my palette knife as a guide. And it also helps lay out that first bit of color as well. I'm going to get a little bit of white. Just blend in. Some of this will peek through what we're going to do next. Yeah, I actually placed a Hobby Lobby order online day before yesterday. I don't know if and when I'll get it, but I did place an order. Couldn't help it. I'm like the queen of online shopping right now. The Amazon guy is so sick of me. Okay, so this is what I've done. It's just laid out a round circle. Okay, so because that's how a hydrangea is. It's just a big round ball of yumminess. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna wipe that off a little bit, and I'm just gonna start dipping in to my colors with the pink, the purple, red, white, and gold, okay? And here's how I do this. I'm just gonna get a blob of paint. Can you see that? I don't know if you can or not. Just a blob of paint on the back of my palette knife. Yeah, absolutely use the colors you already have, 100%. That's exactly what I'm doing. These are colors I already have. You can see, well loved, well used, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna start right on the edge here where it starts at the bottom, and I'm just gonna put a blob down. And I'm kind of applying it like in a parenthesis. So I'm kind of doing like this. So it's just like a parenthesis, then we'll a blob, a blob, a blob. We'll touch in a little bit of white here and there. But you're just making little half circle blobs of color. We'll add some more white, just touch it in until we get all the way around, and then we're gonna continue that process. And don't try to make them perfect, okay? Some need to be sticking out further than the others because these are petals, okay? These are the hydrangea petals, and they're not gonna be perfectly symmetrical like this, okay? So be very fluid, flowy, and don't try to make them perfect. So I'm just gonna keep going and just adding my little blobs of color. We'll get into that white again occasionally just for a little dimension, and keep it up, okay? So now I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna wipe that off a little. I'm gonna hit my gold, just a tiny bit of gold on my knife. And I don't know what you mean, Tracy. So I'm just gonna dab in a little bit of gold here and there. So then we're gonna start over. I'm just gonna start doing the same thing, just scooping up a little bit of color and building those flower petals. Boom. This is the most simple technique for a flower ever. So you're just kind of making half circles, okay? Just a blob. And that makes it raised on one edge, which gives it dimension. Hang on. So I'm just going in and continuing that process. Let's go into some pink. Little white, little gold. And you don't have to use all the colors. You know, if you want to just use one color pink and then white, that would be fine too. You can minimize the your product. There's a hair on there. Oh, you mean the art pieces? Yeah, I do, because right now I don't have any place to sell them. So yes, I do have all my pieces at my house. I do have some at Crossroads in Olive Branch, but for the most part, everything I do is sitting, you know, earlier you could see the rain boots are still on the table behind me, but yeah, I don't really have, you know, unless it's sold or I sell it, it's probably still sitting here in my art room. So I'm just gonna continue down this path. Yes, I do still have the bee. I have hearts. I have some of my Easter stuff still. I have some of my my rain boots. Some of it is sold, some of it is not. So it really kind of depends on what you're looking for. So anyway, what I was saying is you don't have to use, you know, I'm using 4 colors here. You don't have to use 4 colors. Just get a pink that you like or a blue that you like and a white. And you can make 2 colors out of the pink and the white just by adding the white to the pink and creating, you know, that second color. And then you can use the white, like I am, straight out of the container to just highlight some of your pieces. So you can go in there with my white and just hit a couple of spots. So you totally don't have to buy 4 colors. I have 4 colors. Actually, I have hundreds of colors, so. I have every color available. I feel certain. So, look guys, voila, almost done. We'll do a little here and there. And I want to show you kind of close up so you can see the texture. See how creating those half C's or the parentheses creates that little bit of texture that you see in the flower and gives it that authentic look. Okay, so I can go in and add something here and there if I want. Add a little gold maybe even a little yellow here. Add a teeny bit of yellow here and there from the background color. Let's see. Could even do the green, whatever your heart desires. There are no rules at all. All right, so now what I want to do is add a little bit of a leaf. And I think, you know, we've taken up almost the entire canvas with, with our flower, and I do want to add a leaf. So I'm going to come up here and just add it right here using my green. And I'm going to try to stay out of my flower. Should have done my leaf first, but this will be okay. So a hydrangea leaf is kind of big and fat. So we'll come to a point off the edge of our canvas. Get right up. I'm going to get right up next to because I can always come back and add that pink in. Now I do have some of that green still on my plate right here from the background. So we are going to kind of add a little bit of that in for dimension just to create some extra color. So I'm going to dab just a little bit on the back of my knife. I don't know, Elizabeth, but if I'm not, I'm sure somebody will tell me because that's how the internet rolls. If I'm making it wrong, somebody will let me know. And do you know how much I will care? That's right, 0. Okay, so here's my brown. This is the raw umber. I am literally just going to kind of pat the side of, let me see if I can show you, the side of my knife into the brown and just lay it in here a little bit to create a tiny bit of a leaf skeleton. Let's see, I need to go this way. I don't know. Just a little bit of brown in my leaf to create the skeleton of the leaf. Let me see if you can see that. So no big deal. Not trying to be Rembrandt here. I'm just making a cute little flower with a cute little leaf. And we're going to let that go. Okay, so we are completely done with this one. You see how short a period of time that took? And I was dragging it out. From hot, hot South Florida. How hot is it, girl? Because it ain't hot here. Let us know. So this is our first hydrangea. Cute as a button, and it took such a small amount of time to do. And when this is dry tomorrow, we're going to do some more flowers tomorrow, maybe some Mother's Day flowers. Well, thank you, Heather. Thank you. We're going to come back tomorrow and do a little something special on the top of this. So stay with us tomorrow. Come back tomorrow and see what we're going to do to make this look a little bit even more gorgeous, okay? So now let's do a blue flower. We're going to do a blue hydrangea. So I'm going to set this one aside. We'll let that sucker dry, and we will go ahead and load our palette. I'm going to add a little bit more white. We have plenty of gold there, but I'm going to add a little bit more white. Boom. Just a smidgy. And we're going to add cobalt blue over here. That's bright. And pale blue. You could totally take a dark blue color, and I'll show you. I'm gonna put this over here. Uh-oh, that one's not open. Let me open it. Hang on. Does it look like our hydrangeas? Yay! So cute, 39. It is cold here too. Oh no, Heather. Not a life-size version of me. Okay, so I want to show you really quick. You can take this darker blue. I'm going to just make a little pile right here. That cobalt blue, that's the darkest of the two blues, and add a little bit of white to it. Let's do this. And instead of buying two colors of blue, just take your palette knife and mix them together and create a lighter version of the dark blue that you had. Okay, so if you're on a budget or you only have one color blue that will work for your hydrangea, then here, look at here. I've made us a third color. So you can just mix it in with the white and make yourself a third color of the blue for your hydrangea. Yeah, mine asked me when I first logged on, it said I could cast it to my TV. And I'm thinking, well, why would I do that? Right here on live. I don't know. I don't know. Holy crap, Sherry. 19 degrees. No, ma'am. No. Oh, yes. A mean person did make comments in the past about my leaves. And we just didn't care. I do not, at one iota, let mean people affect me. Do not do it. Mean people have their own problems. That's why they're mean. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Same technique, just different colors. So I am going to start with this cobalt blue and make my little circle. We're actually doing it almost exactly the same as the last one. We're just going to make our flower circle. And before I start doing my little blobs, I think I'm going to put in my leaf. We'll throw that leaf in and then we'll correct anything we need to do. And I obviously need more cobalt. So I'm going to wipe that off. Put some more cobalt. Now you can take your glasses off. That's funny. So I'm going to turn this around because I'm going to kind of put my leaf in the same place. So I'm going to just load up with the green and I'm going to start my leaf. Let's see, I got a really pointed. I want to give that leaf a nice point, so I'm going to use this palette knife just for that. Look at there. It is fatter. I know that it's a fatter leaf, so let's make it fatter. We'll use the other one for the fatness. Nay. So we'll come in. I think the hydrangea, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, is the hydrangea leaf a little spiky on the leaves? They're kind of spiky, like that. I think they are. You tell me if I'm wrong. Thank you, Brenda. That would be cool. I've never done that. Now, after we get off, before I go drive around and cure my insanity, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to add some of this little green from our background. I'm going to have to go and pull it up on the television now because I won't be able to stand it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that green, that lighter green. I'm making a mess. It's like a serrated edge. Yeah, I thought so. We're not gonna worry too much about that right now. We're gonna give people something to fuss about. Fuss. We will. We'll just add a little bit of something to the edges. That was a little too much. Just a little rough edge. All right, now we'll do that brown thing. Just the little edge of your knife in the brown, just to give your leaf a little something. the skeleton. Now let's get back to our flower. That is so cool. It never even occurred to me to do that. I can't wait to do it now. Okay, so now we're just gonna get on with it and do our flower. So because I mixed white with the cobalt, we have 3 colors now, but I'm just gonna go ahead and start with my cobalt, and we're gonna do the same thing, just make that little fat parenthesis over, and we'll add some white, over and over again. We'll add a little of this color, a little bit of this color, and just go, you know, just random, do your colors. A little bit of white. I'm not doing this by any like code. I'm just doing a little bit of this color, a little bit of that color, a little bit of this color, a little bit of that color. So there's no, just however you like it. Oh, it was probably 6 or 7 months ago. And I think it was a pumpkin. Was it a pumpkin, Elizabeth? Somebody didn't like my pumpkin leaf. They didn't like my pumpkin leaf, and they said I paint like a 3rd grader. Or a 3rd grader paints better than me. You know, you really can't let people like that affect your life. Because obviously she is a miserable person, because who does that? Who goes on to somebody's page when they're doing a nice thing, making pretty flowers or whatever, and makes a comment like that? It's like, mean people suck. The dark green is chrome oxide green. So I'm just going to keep going, adding some color, adding some white, cobalt, just going in random. Let's add a little gold. We forgot about our gold. So, ooh, that had some pink on it too, which I don't even mind. We may come back and add some yellow. We're just going to keep doing our little petals till we're done. I did not block her, Cynthia. I just didn't even comment. I think actually a couple of people who follow me fairly regular said something to her, but you know, I just don't even. I just let her show her colors, and I just keep doing my thing and painting for my friends and, you know, doing what I do. I just do what I do, don't I, Tim? I just do what I do. Honey, it ain't even the first time. I had somebody, I don't really want to go into this too much, but I actually had somebody comment on one of my art pieces that it was so ugly, I needed to throw it in the trash. But you cannot, guys, seriously, if you're painting online and showing people your pretties, you cannot let those people get under your skin, because there's always going to be a meanie. There's always going to be some mean person, you know, and here's how I like to think of it. Something awful maybe is going on in her life that, you know, made her be, you know, lash out at somebody else. So I just don't even worry about it. I don't even worry about it. I just let it go. Okay, so look, we're done with that hydrangea too. So what I'm gonna do now is just go in, and I think I'm gonna dot into a little bit of that buttercup and just kind of add a few little yellow spots here and there. Since we got some pink, we might as well add some other color. I'm gonna get a little bit more white, maybe drown some of that yellow down with a little white. And just come in, and anywhere where you feel like it's too monochromatic, just add in a little something, something, a little something extra, a little extra color. We'll do a little more yellow here. Just touch it in. And voila. My goodness. And that, it's as simple as that. As simple as that. You could add another leaf here if you wanted. You could do your leaves first and just paint them with regular paint, then do it over the top. Yeah, me too, Lisa. Me too. So this is our blue hydrangea. And this, let me turn them like this because I don't want them touching. So this is our blue and this is our pink. I'm gonna do a little something that will make these pop a little. And then I went ahead and did another blue one. So once we do a finish coat on this, I wanna show you the difference in the two. That way you can decide if that's something you wanna do or not. Okay, so what I have is, it's called Folk Art Antiquing Medium. I love this stuff. I actually buy an antiquing medium in mass quantity, not made by Folk Art, but this is more easily accessible to you guys. So this is what we're gonna use on our, thank you, Betty. This is what we're gonna use on our flower to just give it a little antiquing glaze. And then I will show you the difference in how that looks. Hey, Cynthia. So I'm just gonna squirt. It started squirting out ahead of me. I'm just gonna squirt a little bit on my plate. It doesn't really take much. And I'm gonna grab a brush. This brush is wet, and I'm gonna go ahead and just add a little bit of that water to my canvas area, because this stuff can be a little grabby. So less is more when you're using this. So I am just going to get a bunch of this on my brush, and I'm gonna start on my flower. I know, so far you're thinking, what are you doing? You're making a mess, because it looks like chocolate pudding, or it looks like poo or something. It looks terrible. I'm gonna get a little bit more water. We're gonna spread this around. Okay, we'll spread it on the top. Make sure you get it all in that texture of your flower, okay? Don't leave anything undone. But you're gonna wanna work fast because this stuff does get grabby. So don't take your time. Don't like spend 20 minutes doing this. Get it on really messy. And now what we're gonna do is wipe it off. Okay, so I'll tell you that in a minute, Samantha. This is just an old piece of t-shirt. I just cut off a piece of the t-shirt so I could use it to wipe off. So I'm gonna make a flat little pad. I'm not gonna use that side where it's all the loose ends. I'm going to use, well, the reason I'm doing that, Cynthia, is because this is easy for people to find and it's cheap. Okay, if you're a professional and if you're in the group, I would suggest the aqua cream, but for somebody just out there playing around, I would not want them to buy a $60 bucket of aqua cream. So anyway, so now I'm just wiping it off. I'm gonna find me a clean spot. Let me get it in my hand. And what I'm gonna do is just wipe off. And what it does when you wipe in one direction, let me move that over. When you wipe in one direction, it pulls all that antiquing medium into the texture of your flower. Let me do the edges a little. Hang on. I wanna do my edges too. So I'm just going to dip and then scrub it in. And I'm running out of cream. So here's the difference, okay? So what I did was antique the flower, okay? And pulling in one direction helps all that brown antiquing cream kind of pull into the crevices. So here is the difference in the two. So whichever way you like it, and I'll tell you what happens too. We're gonna resin all of this stuff that we're doing at the end of the week at the same time. So, so when we resin it, it's gonna make these colors pop even more, and you'll be able to see how the difference in this one when it gets brighter. So it's gonna brighten it up and make it shiny again. So this is the difference. This one is plain, no antiquing paste, and this one has the antiquing cream or paste or whatever you want to call it. All right, so that is what those look like. That's the difference between the two. Which one do you like best? Right? So yeah, the reason I am using this, guys, all you people in my group, I'm using this because this is what our average painter out there can find at Hobby Lobby. If you're in my group, I'm always going to tell you, you know, the best thing to use that's a professional product, which is this here, which is what I would normally use. This is Aqua Cream. It's made by Faux Effects, but it's expensive, okay? This stuff is expensive, so if you're just a hobbyist painter, I wouldn't suggest that, because this will work just as well, and it's like $3 at the Hobby Lobby, okay? The Aqua Cream is just a little bit better. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest if you're a hobbyist to go out and buy Aqua Cream. So this is the difference in the two, and now let's do the pink one. So I'm gonna put this one aside. I'm going to leave this one plain and leave this one antiqued. So we're going to put this one aside and let's do our pink flower. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go ahead and wet my canvas a little. I still have a little bit of antiquing glaze on there. So just wet that a little. Let me squirt out a little bit more of this. And this is called, it's called Cocoa Bean Antiquing Medium. So I'm going to just go into it. Again, I'm going to start on my flower because it's kind of a slick surface, so it doesn't dry as quick on the flower as it will on the canvas itself. I'm going to wet my brush a little more. So we're going to get that completely covered. Just make it look a mess. Make sure you get in all those crevices that you created when you were painting your flower, when you were using your knife to make that texture. And now we'll move on to the canvas portion and just scrub a little bit of that into your canvas. And we're gonna go again. Just gonna do that again. So I'm gonna use that one got a little blue on it, that one quite dry. I love Faux Effects too. I did Faux Effects, I was a Faux Effects girl for 20 years. So I'm gonna wipe it off my canvas first, because that is what's gonna dry faster. So we'll get that excess off that bare canvas where the flower is not. And then I'm gonna just start wiping that glaze off in one direction. So it leaves all that darkness in the crevices only. And make that, hang on. I need to go in a different direction. It was not pulling right. So it really makes your flower pop. Let me pull a little bit more off that canvas. Gosh, Wendy, I've slept since then, so I don't remember exactly what we use, but that sounds probably right. You would probably remember better than I would. So there is our pink flower with the antiquing medium on it. Just gives it a little something extra. It's something you don't really have to do. You could do that. No, you could totally do that. Just be careful around your edges. Or you could come back with like some water and just wipe some of that off if you wanted to. Just wet it and get most of that off. But I think if you're careful, you can just do the flower. See? And the more you wipe, the more that comes off. So you're in control of that. You're in control of how much of the glaze that you leave on your flower and how much you take off. So I would just start taking it off. And if you want to take more off, just keep scrubbing at it. You could even wet it a little. I'll show you that. I can take my wet paintbrush and just wet it a little and even pull more off if I want. Let me find a clean spot on my little thingy. Thank you, Maury. So you can take off more if you feel like you have too much, just by adding a little bit of water and rubbing that off. Voila. So that is the difference in antiquing. Let me do my sides real quick. Just want to get a little color. Thank you for the sprinkle. I love both styles too. I don't know why. I like things that are kind of crusty and old. So I think I lean more towards the antiquing one than I do the crisp, clean version. And I'll show you those close up as well. Let me turn them so they're kind of paired together. So I do kind of like the dirty one better. And when we put a little smidge of resin on top of this one that we dirtied up, it's really, really gonna pop and look really pretty. So there are our hydrangeas. One not glazed, one glaze. Allison, this is really the only color of the folk art stuff that I buy because for the most part, I only use this on small things and when I'm demoing here on the Art Shattered page because I use aqua cream and color for the most part. So the cocoa bean is really the only one that I use. There is an umber, I think, not 100% sure. Thanks, Tim Raines. So that is that. So here's what we did. I'll show you all three. I'm gonna put that in water. Let's get rid of that. So here are all three. I hope you can see them. Let me try to wait and see. These are our pieces. And I'm gonna show you our hydrangeas. So I'm just gonna offload. So I'm gonna show you the difference in resin and no resin. So I'm just gonna get 1 scoop of resin on this flower. Yay, Rima! Aren't they awesome? Fella even sanded them down so they're not sharp. Okay, so this is the hydrangea with resin. Oops. So you can see how the color pops. And this is the one without resin. So the resin really, really makes that color pop and turn your piece really shiny. So I'm gonna set this one aside and we're gonna do this one. 1 little scoop. And then we'll just smear it around on the top. Hey, Diane. So you don't really need much when you don't have glass. You just need a tablespoon maybe, depending on the size of your piece, just enough to cover that top surface. Make sure you get it all in the texture. So pretty. And last but not least, our pink. This one belongs to Heather. She won this one the first day. Now I still have like maybe a 1/2 ounce or maybe 1 ounce, just to right. Yes, you want it to be a thin layer, just enough to cover the surface. So I just put like a spoonful and then just smear it around. So we used probably, let's see, we had 2 ounces, maybe a 1/2 ounce of resin or less for each hydrangea. And I would suggest when you're doing something without the glass where you just need a smidge, just do it when you're doing something that does have glass. Because you don't want to mix up a 1/2 ounce resin. So this took 2 ounces. These took about a 1/2 ounce or less each. And I have a little left over that when I'm done, I will pour on something else. So I always have something ready.